Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Made in Quakes TV. And this afternoon I'm going to be joined by Roshan Das. So I'm just going to invite him. Here he is, somewhere in the wings, to come and join in. Now Roshan is a corporate tax associate. In fact, here he is. Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. How are we?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? I was just explaining
Really?
you're a corporate tax associate. I'm going to ask you in a minute to tell us all what that is, because I think if I try to explain it, I'll make quite a bad job of it. So we'll get to that. But thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. As you can see, people are joining us and hopefully to find out more about what being a corporate tax associate means, and to find out a little bit about your journey of the last 7 years and before and after, since you left Quags in 2015. Now, remind me what A-levels you did, if you will. I know you did maths.
Yes, I did maths and then also economics and geography.
Yeah.
And then to AS level when that was the thing.
And you did an AS in?
Physics.
In physics, that's right. So for those that don't remember, AS was, you did 4 ASs in year 12 and then 3 A2s, 3 A-levels in year 13 before they changed the rules, they changed the structure in 2017. So it's a bit different now. It's all the exams are at the end, but you had a modular course. So tell us a bit more about, since 2015, how you've got from there to here, if you will, please.
Yeah, of course. I think, as you mentioned, left school in 2015. It doesn't feel like that long ago, but then when people remind me it was nearly 7 years ago, I started to panic a little bit. But yeah, I ended up joining the University of Edinburgh in September of 2015, and there I read economics for 4 years. Really had a great time. Absolutely love Edinburgh. Always beam on about it. And then part of that, in the summer of third year, I actually was invited on an internship to join the Children and Young People's Health Partnership. This was in the summer of 2018, and this was an internship down in London, which was based. It was based in a research project which was run by King's Hospital, King's College London, and St Guy's and Thomas Hospital. And essentially, this was a research project in which I was able to go down, see what they do a bit of data modelling, and we were analysing the effects of deprivation in areas of Southwark and Lambeth and how that affected outpatient data in local hospitals around the area, which is really interesting for me. It was very interesting to see how health economics really played a role in the real world, and that formed the basis of what I then went on to study in my final year of university and also wrote my dissertation on, which, thankfully got through all that in the final year. And then, we ended up September of 2019, left university, but also had an offer to join Grant Thornton UK in their Leeds office, in which I became a corporate tax associate. Yeah. That's where I still am now. And in that time, I've been there for nearly 3 years now, and I'm studying to be a ICAEW chartered accountant, which we're getting there. 14 exams completed, 1 to go. So
very good. So that's going to finish soon.
So that's where that. So the final case study is in July, so about a month from now, actually. So
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for breaking off for your revision for half an hour and your preparation for that. To talk
my pleasure.
Really grateful. So, a corporate tax associate becoming a chartered accountant. So, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? Can you give us a bit of a sense of what your role involves, please?
Yeah, of course. So, as I said, I work for Grant Thornton UK. We're headquartered in the US, and we're a top 6 financial services firm. So we specialize in the provision of audit, tax, and advisory services. Within this, I work in corporate tax. So I essentially assist clients in determining their corporation tax liability based on their financial activity over the past year. So we'll often work closely with audit teams to determine their tax liability, which is then put into their financial statements. Part of this involves, within our computations, we'll analyze profit or loss accounts and make sure the correct taxable profit position is reflected by treating certain tax sensitive items properly. The main part is, though, we will ensure there's a lot of claims and elections we can make to HMRC on behalf of the client to ensure that their tax liability is mitigated. So if you're involved in R&D or if you invest a lot in fixed assets, so like big plant and machinery, we can claim elections on behalf of the client to reduce the tax profits down. And as part of that role is then we liaise with HMRC as as their agents. So we discuss payments, repayments, the extension of filing deadlines. So yeah, that's the kind of main crux of the role.
Excellent. So making sure that it all adds up and everybody's doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And part of it, that's the main thing, but there's also a wide array of tax advisory services we provide as well. So when clients are undergoing corporate restructures, mergers and acquisitions, we can help ensure that tax due diligence is completed and everything is shaped up on the tax side of things. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting areas to get involved with.
Brilliant. And at what point did you realise this is what you want to do? I've said this to other boys. No one leaves school thinking I'm going to work in tax, or maybe some people do, but that's not necessarily a common route. People have some ideas. So when you left school, how was what you thought you might end up doing any different to what you have done, and how have you moved through that sort of evolution?
Yeah, I guess in the long and the short of it, that certainly wasn't the idea. Working in tax, it's something I very much fell into, but it's not far off from where I wanted to be. I think when I joined, when I was at university, the plan was to go into investment banking because that seemed like the route to go into for everyone. And then it became a slog of just applying to spring weeks, applying to summer internships, and then a lot of rejections came in, which was
it's very common.
Yeah, it's very competitive, very common, and it's an area which I realized is very competitive. And also, once I started learning about different other roles which economics graduates go into, I realized maybe it wasn't for me. And what made me go into this role was actually the continued development. So leaving uni with an undergraduate degree, but then still being able to do an ACA qualification, coming out with a chartered accountancy qualification, was a key aspect of me wanting to join a financial services firm where I could not only work in the corporate world, but also still keep learning and getting qualifications. That was probably the deciding factor in making me want to go here. Tax was basically a friend of mine who, when I was applying, he graduated a few years before me. He said, just don't go into audit, whatever you do.
Does that, everything else is okay.
I think since then I thank him quite often for that, but I'm sure audit is a fine role. I have many friends in audit, but I'm certainly glad I ended up where I am.
It wouldn't have been for you. Interesting. So obviously you've come a long way in a short time, actually. Like you said, 7 years doesn't seem that long, although you've done quite a lot. Could you pick out a few highlights? What are the things you're most proud of, would you say, in that period? And, you know, yeah, what start there, and then we'll look at unpacking some of those, perhaps, if that's okay.
Sure. Yeah, I think the main thing I was really proud of was coming out with my degree from the University of Edinburgh. Came out with a 2-1, but I think my main sort of proudest achievement was getting a first-class grade in my dissertation. As I said, this was formed on the basis of the work I'd done in my previous internship, and I essentially ran a study analysing the impact of socioeconomic status in various parts of the UK and how that affected cognitive outcomes of children. And I used a real-world data set which had been started from, it had been tracking the outcomes of children who were born in the year 2000, going all the way up from 0 to 14. And I was able to look at their data and see how deprivation levels affected their results. And it really gave me a new view about sort of education, health economics, about parenting, about a lot of things. I really enjoyed it, and it's making me want to carry on working in that field at some point, potentially. Another thing I was really proud of, and I don't know if anyone here is part of the club, but anyone will say, non-uni friends and uni friends will say, my time at Edinburgh University Men's Hockey Club was a very formative part of my career there. I represented all the teams from like 7s up to the 2s, didn't quite get a 1s game. But yeah, in that time I served in the committee as a team captain, a treasurer and a secretary. Really learned a lot from that about management, about, you know, controlling finances for one of the clubs, one of the country's biggest clubs even. And yeah, I was granted colours by our sports union for outstanding services to the club, which was a real proud moment for me as well.
And I know, are you still involved down at Wakefield? Am I right?
I am, yes. So once I came down there. Yeah, exactly. You know, I see you and many of the other teachers playing a bit of five-a-side football, which is great. Yeah, I made a beeline straight to Wakefield as soon as I came back home. And yeah, it's been great. I'm like helping to coach Sean Clark goalkeeping, which is hilarious. Yeah. And then yeah, I see Jeff Tingle all around, but it's also amazing to see like all the new Quegs kids just coming up through the ranks. Some of them, I remember when I first joined, I think there was a couple of them who said, "Oh, I remember you from when you were in like year 13." I was like, "How old were you?" He said, "We were in year 7." I was like, "Oh no."
Well,
Awful.
my son James, who's 6, has started going, and he's going this evening to the juniors,
Oh,
and
brilliant.
and he's being coached. One of the coaches is one of the lads in year 10. So it's there's a strong connection with school and the club, and that's brilliant that you've been able to carry on that that interest and that passion. Really, I suppose it's probably stronger than an interest, isn't it, for you?
Absolutely,
At
yeah.
university, and then bring it back home. Anything else? Bollywood movies? Tell us about
I didn't know when I mentioned that. I didn't know if you'd bring it up, but yeah, this was a funny one. Again, right place at the right time.
that.
It was part of, I think it was in 2018. The club president of the hockey uni club at the time said there is a movie being filmed about hockey in Leeds this weekend. If anyone's around, go and audition for it. So I said, yeah, sure. I'm actually at home this week. I'll go join.
Yeah.
Went and auditioned, and then got a role in the movie as a hockey player. Turned out to be for a huge, big budget Bollywood movie that was being filmed in Yorkshire, based on the 1948 Olympics. There was a few of us from school actually. Myself, James Bennett, Matt Anderson, Ryan Carsey. I think we were all in this film. Spent 2 months training and filming with like big Bollywood heroes of mine, kind of guys that I'd watched growing up. So I got about 15 minutes of screen time, 15 seconds, sorry, not 15 minutes, 15 seconds of screen time in there, which again, I'll take it. It was good fun.
Wow. So corporate tax associate, men's hockey hero, and also movie star. Roshan, this is incredible stuff. And what's the name of the movie? I've got to watch it.
It's called Gold.
I want to.
It's a good watch, I'd say. It's called Gold.
Gold. It's a Bollywood movie from 2018 about the Olympics. Fantastic. So achievements, and for what's a quite short career, you've done a lot, as I said before, and it's really interesting to hear about that. What can you tell us about some of the challenges that you've had to overcome? What sort of things that didn't perhaps go to plan, and what did you learn from them? Because not everything goes. I mean, obviously, appearing in a Hollywood movie wasn't part of the plan either, but that's when things go well. But have you faced any difficulties or things that you've had to work around that you could tell us about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main one being studying for a chartered accountancy qualification at the same time as working. It is for all of us quite kind of a tough ordeal in that you're working 9 to 5, and then especially during exam seasons, you're expected to then study from maybe like 6 till 10 or even later, trying to revise for the exams coming up. So that was a shock to the system in a way, and tough to kind of negotiate at the start, sort of how to work through that. From what I learned, and I think my firm is amazing for that. I'm always very thankful in that. I've heard other stories from other teams or other firms where the hours can become really long. Whereas with us, our firm always said, my managers would always say, as soon as it hits 5:30, log off, turn your computer off, go have a break, and then come back and do your studies. And that was really important for us. I think it really helped the fact that there was no pressure from work to, we need you to stay on later and do work through these deadlines. They'd say, no, you leave, we've got this, you focus on your studies. And that is the kind of key role for us. We're just meant to get through these exams and the time we can. Personally, on a micro level, what I tried to do was just plan my days a bit better, get into a routine. And I also learned the importance of making sure I take a break. Playing sport was a huge part of that, just being able to break up the day. And it just meant when I came back to work, I was a bit more refreshed, a bit better in that sense. Another challenge was COVID-19, as it has been for everyone, I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. Originally, it was going into the office, going for drinks with some colleagues afterwards, having fun, but also just being in a team. And then it became, in a snap of a finger, after 6 months, it was working from home, trapped at home the whole time. There was no team as such, no socials. So ways we got around that. We started setting up morning team calls, which were amazing. We still do those now, which is great.
Yeah.
And then I was part of the team which we organised a lot of virtual socials, which I'm sure everyone did. We got tired of quizzes by the end. But we also ran, me and a couple of other friends, we ran what we call Good News Grant Thornton, which was basically when lockdown was at its hardest and the news was just awful every day. We once a week on our Teams calls, we would just collate a mixture of really good news stories that we'd read, and we'd just present them in the form of news, just as like a parody on our team page, which it boosted morale for a bit, which was fun. It was also fun and everything. So yeah, those kind of things, just a little having fun here and there. It got us through, and now it's nice to see us kind of hopefully getting back to some form of normality.
That is brilliant, and that was organic. That was you and your team that came up with that as a
very much so. It's
just come out of nothing, really.
Just what the team calls can get a little bit, it's a bit, how's your weekend, you have fun, and then we thought, all right, how can we mix this up a little bit? We'll wear our suits and put on the news.
It's a really good point, because I think at school we had the same sort of thing, and it was important when departments met together and supported one another, and exactly that. And some boys found lockdown tougher than others, and that was a big part of not just teaching but supporting them. I absolutely remember that. Not with fondness. It was, we all learned a lot and we came through it, and we did a good job. But
definitely
right, it was a tough time. So looking forward then, what are you looking forward to? Obviously you mentioned your exam in July. What's next when you've done that? What changes, assuming you pass it, of course, fingers crossed, and we'll let you get on with your studies soon, but when you're free to talk to us. But what's next then? What's the game plan over the next, you choose, 1 year, 5 years, 20 years, I don't know.
Yeah, sure. I think at the moment it's taking things a month at a time, but I think the plan is to get through the exam, and hopefully I'll be qualified as an accountant by the end of the year. There are many possibilities from becoming a chartered accountant, so there's opportunities within the industry, so working within other sort of, or the same financial services firm, but also outside of the industry. I've got a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues who have become chartered accountants and then moved into the kind of companies who we provide our services to.
Right.
So specializing, sort of say media companies or supermarkets, that kind of thing, which is again another way to go, which is interesting. Personally, my aim for the next sort of year or so or even longer, is to stay in progress within the firm. I'm really enjoying the firm, and I really like what we do and the culture that we have. But in terms of development, I would certainly be open to exploring different roles within the firm, potentially even going to different offices, or we offer a lot of secondments overseas. So the opportunity to work abroad would be incredible. And I think at this time of our lives, it seems like a good time to do it. So that's all on the cards, but it feels like it's a long way away from now, at least.
Very interesting. And you see yourself possibly going abroad, as you say. If that opportunity presents itself, it's worth, if you've got that chance to. I definitely agree with you. I never got that chance, but I've certainly enjoyed the travels I've had with school, and I can see, there's huge benefits to that. There.
I'd be able to. I see it with James Bowler, who obviously you had the first call with him. I think he looks like he's having a great time out in America, and that was quite an inspiration.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, exactly that. So that all came from a secondment that grew and grew, and he's out there, he's settled, he's married, he's got his job that he wanted. Absolutely, and you never know what will happen, I suppose. Any more movies in the pipeline? No,
not at the moment. No, I'm always on the lookout. If anyone drop me a cut.
Anybody watching who's got an opportunity for a seasoned actor in Bollywood or otherwise, then get in touch. We've looked forward, and that sounds really exciting. And I wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
With whatever you're going to do, and we'll follow your progress closely. And I know you've already done it in mentoring students at Queggs, and you've offered to help again, which is brilliant. We're really grateful for you, sharing your time, sharing your expertise, sharing your knowledge with boys who are in the sixth form and maybe even younger, thinking about what they want to do next. And I know that some of the other interviews have happened this afternoon with small boys, and that's another great initiative. That so if there's any old boys watching, or even any current students watching who want to get involved with that, then talk to us about that, because it's a growing area where the old boys can help the current students. And so thank you. Officially, I'll go on record saying thank you for your input to that. It's really appreciated. If we look back at your time at school a little bit, have you got any strong memories or any particular favourite memories? Anything that you think back now, oh, that was quite influential, or that was a turning point? Is there anything you want to talk about there?
Sure. I mean, Queggs I always loved for the teachers and the studying and the knowledge that we got imparted onto us and the lessons that we had, but there was so much to do outside of the classroom which really impacted me and impacted what I was able to do and formed me as a person. I always say that to people, particularly I think the work we did, or the work I got to see through, I'll do it for Dawson and sort of foundation charity fairs, charitable influences that we had were incredible.
You're on the committee,
And
weren't
also,
you?
yeah, in year 13, I was lucky enough to be part of the organising committee, and we kind of changed the format of the event, which was kind of scary for us at the time. I had an amazing group of friends with me who we all worked together to get it done, and we ran things like the Pink Cricket Day, and we also like filmed a promotional video, which was, I remember, yeah, Camilla Field was amazing with that, helping us film that and produce it. And by the time we were presenting it to assemblies with everyone just to show what the event was going to be, I remember just looking at the video thinking, looks too professional. I didn't do this. So yeah, I think the money we raised from that was amazing, and the opportunity to almost, I think the teachers gave us sort of free rein to organize this amongst ourselves and speak to local businesses and really try and plan this event from the ground up. That for me was really helpful, and I think that caused me to really want to get involved with more committees. And it's what I said when I joined university. I joined a lot of committees there as well, and even at work now I'm trying to involve myself in more wider aspects of not just the work but wider things as well. So that was a really key moment for me, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I can see that. It gave you a different perspective, and I've seen you on LinkedIn. You were in a webinar. Tell us about how that came about.
Yeah, sure. I think there's a couple of things I've been lucky to do. One of them, I feel I've been now being on the other side of the wall, now having got a job after trying so hard to get one. I do feel like I can now help other people who are in the same position to also get secure roles in the jobs they want to get. So certainly from a financial services perspective, it was talking to a lot of people around sort of the age of Queg's school children about interview techniques and speaking about kind of what you can do and how to structure your interview questions, the experience you need to be able to secure a job. I was able to attend a couple of webinars there, as well as a really amazing opportunity I had when I was visiting India in 2019. I was able to speak to a group of young girls who were all from sort of less wealthy backgrounds, who'd been provided a really strong education from this charity, and I was able to then talk to them about again working in a big corporate firm and sort of the opportunities that arise from that. So yeah, I've been very lucky that people want to listen to me talk about stuff like that, because it surprises me every day, but it's nice.
No, I can see why they do. I think you've got a way of when I've seen you mentoring students, you've got a way of explaining things. Very positive. I think I can see why Bollywood liked you as well. Yeah, you've got good screen presence. No, I absolutely can see that. That's brilliant. Talking about, I think you've already said, you've done this quite a bit. Have you got any specifically to? There's quite a lot of people have joined us today. And have you got any advice specifically, perhaps for Queg's boys, whatever age they are, listening, watching? Any specific advice for them, now in the near future, if they are interested in what you're doing or following your footsteps or related careers? What sort of things would I need to know if I was one of those, would you say?
Sure. I think the key thing is just try and get as much experience as you can. I again was very lucky. I was able to reach out to various contacts. My parents also worked really hard to reach out to their contacts to secure me kind of just work placements or internships with various banks, or even the internship that I had down in London with the research projects, just to give you an idea of what it's like to work in a corporate world. And I think just interview experience in itself can really help you. If I look back at the first interview I ever sat compared to the last one I did, there is a marked improvement based on the technique gets a lot better. It's with anything. If you practice it enough, you will become better. I think from an academic point of view, it's something that I look back on, and my time at Queg's, I had an amazing time. And again, there was teachers such as yourself who were really inspiring to me, always trying to push me and give me confidence, which, I mean, firsthand, I've struggled a lot with my confidence at times, especially during A-levels. And I think I wish now that I'd have just been a bit more forefront in asking for help when I needed it, making use of all the resources that we had. I think learning support, for instance, is something that not a lot of schools will have, or the dedicated resources that our school has to learning support. And, 50% of our time in school is actually learning in school, learning in classrooms, doing exams, sitting papers, whatever. Whereas the other 50% is you at home in your room by yourself thinking, right, how do I revise? How do I do this homework, etc. And I think it's really important when you're at school to almost reach out to teachers, say, look, how when I go home, what is the best way for me to be able to study? Because we all learn in different ways. And I think school will offer those resources to help you figure out what's best for you. And that will lead through to university. You know, I got to university, and even now studying for my latest exams, I'm thinking, right, I'm not really sure how best to go about this. And it would have been nice for me to have the awareness just to be in school and say, right, I'm going to go up to the learning support room and let's figure out what's best for me. So yeah, I think I've always said it. The opportunities and the resources our school offer are just second to none, and I would encourage everyone to use them as much as they can.
Oh, thank you for saying that, and thank you for pointing that out. And that's interesting because that resonates with what other people I've talked to on here, other old boys at all different stages of their career as well. That gathering of experience, all experience is good experience in whatever it's in, even if it's not necessarily in something that you think you're going to do. You learn something from it. I think you've made that point really, really eloquently there, and I totally agree with it. And as I say, I've heard others make it in their own, in different sectors, in different disciplines at different points in their career. And it's a really good one. It's no experience is wasted, I suppose, is a good summary of that. So I've got another question I've asked others. Looking back to school, is there anything that you wish you'd known then that you know now? Or if I phrased it sometimes as well as, you know, if you could tap on 15-year-old Roshan's shoulder. I mean, you've touched upon a bit of that just now, but if you tap on his shoulder, is there anything you'd tell him? Is there any bit of advice that, or things you maybe wish you'd heard in assembly?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think advice-wise, I touched on it before about, just using the resources available. I think there was definitely a time, especially when I first joined in year 7, sort of year 8, I came from I didn't come from the junior school, and it was kind of overwhelming the amount of stuff that school offered.
You've not experienced that before.
Definitely not. And there was a time I remember I just, before I played a bit of tennis before school, and that was fine. And I kind of just went to school, did my lessons, came back home. And I remember getting dragged into the PE office by Trevor Barker. And he told me, look, you're a slightly athletic looking guy. You seem like you can run fast. Why are you not doing more stuff? And I thought, I don't know, I was just a bit scared. And he basically forced me into playing hockey, which is the reason I'm still playing it now.
Wow.
I got into cricket through school, and I still play that now. And I love cricket. And even just being more involved in music, debating society, I got involved with that, and we had some great times there. So yeah, the best bit of advice I'd say is, as early as you can, just join as many sports and societies as you want to do. You won't get that. I wish I had the energy now once I finish work to go and say, right, I'm going to play 2 hours of hockey, or I'm going to plan a debate. I don't have that energy anymore, unfortunately, but I had it back then. And once I almost figured it out around sort of year 9, where I just started doing everything. And I just say, as soon as you get in, just, don't be afraid. If your friends are going, get involved. If there's an opportunity, say yes. And it really helps boost your skills in the long run, because as I mentioned before, with the time management aspect, you might feel tired after school, but if you end up playing a bit of sport, or you do some music, or you join another society, it helps break up your day. And then once you get back into your room and you're ready to do your homework, you just know that's focus time, because it's the only time I have left. So yeah, that would be the biggest bit of advice we can give.
Thank you. That's absolutely brilliant advice, and advice you're still following now, because the studying continues post-university, even into the working life. So I think that's, those lessons I can see have gelled, and you're still living them. That's fantastic. I can't believe we've been talking already for half an hour. It's absolutely flown. I've got a few more questions before I let you go back to your studies.
Sure, you're all day.
Sort of, again, looking back, just sort of, and we've done quite a bit of that, but can you pick out one, perhaps particularly happy memory, or one particularly poignant memory? Anything that jumps out at you what's the first thing you think of, perhaps, when you think back to school days?
I thought back to it. Yeah, I can think back to a couple. I think one of the ones was in year 9. Again, it speaks to the wealth of opportunities you get in the school. In year 9, myself and my good friends Hashim, Soam and Jack, we were able to join the Toyota Challenge, which is a DT project. I remember Mr. Ben ran that. And yeah, we designed this incredible little car which went flying. We got through like the school finals, went to like a regional finals, and ended up presenting at the national finals in the Toyota factory out in Derby. That was a really fun memory, just by the fact we got that far and had so much fun doing that. Another competition we did in year 13. It was in economics with Mr. Chatterton. It's myself, Anka Desai, I think Tom Maskill, and one I'm missing as well. But we got to do the Target 2.0 challenge, which was basically presenting financial and monetary policy to members of the Monetary Policy Committee, which we got to the regional finals of that, which again was... I never would have thought in my wildest dreams I'd be doing that, and I don't think I've done anything as impressive as that since school either. So, the ability to do that, and the teaching that we got to allow us to go into those. Considering I know nothing about DT, I was awful at DT throughout my entire time at school. I only got there because I spoke at the presentation. So, those are two very, very key parts which I remember really enjoying.
Thank you, and that resonates with things you've said earlier as well about how you developed your confidence by doing things. You're clearly a very, very confident speaker now, but as you said, I remember sometimes you lacked a bit of confidence at school, and you describe yourself when you were quite young as feeling a bit overwhelmed. And I think that's the journey that many people come on. It's really interesting to hear about yours. So thank you. You mentioned a couple of teachers already. Is there any other teachers that looking back? Were quite pivotal, or that you've got again good memories of good advice or turning points, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was of course yourself. We spent a lot of time together, following you around in maths classes. I think Mrs. Ramsden in English was amazing, as was Mrs. Palin and Mr. Palin. They were both terrific, especially once it got to kind of year 13, when I was sort of deputy head boy, with spending all that time with Mr. Palin and Mr. Craig was incredible. I remember English lessons with Mr. O'Connor were just that almost felt like Dead Poet Society, kind of just real sort of real fun lessons. The fact again we got to go see a rendition of Julius Caesar run by the Royal Shakespeare Company with him, which was just that blew my mind, just being able to do that. So they were definitely teachers that inspired me a lot. I think with Mr. Chatterton in economics as well as Mrs. Allen, they both did great stuff, and obviously chemistry was always fun. I'm gonna have to give Sean Clark a shout out, otherwise he won't be my keeper anymore. So I have fond memories of all the staff for sure.
Fabulous. Well, listen, you're welcome back in school anytime. You're obviously very busy, but if you get an opportunity to come and visit us now that that's allowed again, you're more than welcome. Come in for lunch someday, or just come and say hi. We'd love to see you. I hope to run into you at the hockey club again at some point.
Absolutely.
When I'm sweating on the football pitch. But thank you ever so much. It was brilliant to talk to you and hear about the amazing journey you've been on and that you're going on. And we wish you all the best for the future. And I know you'll stay in touch because you've offered to, and we're really grateful for that as well. So thank you very much, Roshan Das, corporate tax associate and all-round hero and movie star. We're really grateful that you came to join us today. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, we'll see you very soon, I'm sure.
Take care. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Right. Thanks.